Hi, welcome to Too Many Tabs. It's a podcast. If I have to explain more than that to you, then I feel like this is going to be a very long show. My wife is sitting across from me at a desk.
Yep.
I'm sitting here behind a keyboard.
Yep.
And I'm not allowed to look at any screens for the next, 45 minutes to an hour?
Yep.
But you can look at as many screens as you want, whether or not you're watching us on YouTube or if you're listening to us on your AirPods or earphones or whatever type of listening device. On speaker. Maybe you're taking a long drive in your car.
Maybe you're on the bus and you're just blasting.
Maybe we're on a Bluetooth speaker and we're annoying everyone on the subway now.
Play it on the beach.
However you're listening to us, I want to say thank you because you're about to hear research from a lady, ostensibly a lady,
Yeah.
who has been looking up things across what? Many tabs. How many tabs?
Too many.
That's exactly right, which is where this podcast gets its names. Now I'm going to take a tab, and then we're all going to sit back together and listen to Mrs. P explain us what?
Just stuff and things.
That's a good way to put it.
Too many frauds and too many scammers that we wish weren't real. Too many cons and too many spammers, and we're starting to feel like we've got too many tabs open. It's too many tabs. Remember to smile.
We're back. We're here.
We're
It's
here?
another episode. It's been a while since we've actually sat across from each other at this desk.
I know we pre-recorded so much.
We did because we went on a little mini vacation.
And then you had to go do all the things.
I had all the shows, and then my parents also went on vacation. Of course. They
love a vacation.
They love it. It's amazing. They don't work, and all they do is take vacations.
But you know what's crazy about
Yeah.
it? And this is with all older people that do this. Their job is just planning vacations. It's all they talk about. Oh my God.
Yep. And so they've been going on a cruise, which means we have not had childcare.
Yep. But we got some today, baby.
Yeah, we have some childcare today, so which means we can sit down and record this episode. So I want to start off. We don't have a lot.
We could be sleeping.
We could be. We made a choice.
That's right. We had the option. We could have taken a long nap.
Yep.
With the sitter here,
God.
or we could do a podcast. And I said, "Listen to me, you son of a bitch.
We got to record.
You're gonna record a goddamn podcast." I done a lot of research,
Yeah, because I'm flying to St. Louis and Indianapolis. By the time you hear this, I will have already performed there. But
and it would have been great. You did so funny.
if it went as if the St. Louis and Indy shows do as well, actually it's the Indy and St. Louis shows. I'm going to go Indianapolis first and then St. Louis. But if those shows went as well as the shows I just had in Jersey City or the shows I just had in Philadelphia, then you guys had the time of your life.
Time of your life.
It's a great time, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been coming out all summer to these shows. I love doing meet and greets. I love having everyone walk up to me after the show and be like, "Hey, you were very funny. Your wife is so much funnier though, and I wish she was here." To everyone who approaches me with a gift in their hand, and then they look at me, and then they look at Satoyo, and they say, "Make sure Mrs. P gets this to Satoyo," because they don't trust me to get them into her hands. I thank you.
I do get them, and I thank everybody. And
Yeah.
thank you for everything you guys send in the post box. I like the gifts that come in are so fun and cool, and the books. I don't post about all of them because I'm trying to get through so many of them to see which ones would be a good fit for the book club episodes.
And a few of you even mentioned to me the books that you sent us that we haven't read or mentioned, but like we do get them. We do appreciate them. We don't always mention every single one all the time because
a lot of times, because I read them and they're very good books.
Yeah.
But
Some of them-
sometimes they're too intricate to explain to you in under 2 hours.
Yeah.
And some of them just might not be a good fit because like there's been such really heavy hitter books that wouldn't be funny. Like I tried to pick stuff that's like ridiculous, and that way we can make it funny.
Yeah.
Because life's hard, so the podcast should be funny.
Yeah.
I say that before I do this episode, which is definitely gonna have a bummer moment, but it's okay.
Great. I love that. So yeah, I mean, we're October. I'm not going anywhere. October, we are locking the doors. I'm staying here, and we're just making
Because it's fall.
Because
and
it's
what
fall.
did your wife say?
You said sweater weather,
Sweater weather.
and we're going apple picking.
We're going apple picking.
Yeah.
Pumpkin picking. We're drinking apple cider. We're going out into the woods to look at the leaves change color. You're not getting on a flight because I'm doing autumnal activities.
Okay.
Do you hear how I pronounced that
I
correctly,
did.
you son of a bitch?
You did nail it.
I can't say crown, but
No.
I got that.
What was the word you just tried to say? Crayon?
So anyway, let's talk about the episode.
No, before we get into the episode,
right.
I just want to. This is going to be the messaging from here on out, guys. Is I just going to remind everyone: make sure you're registered to vote. I don't care who you're voting for. I just want to make sure that you are registered to vote. So come election day, you can go make your voice heard if you want to. That's what I just want to remind everyone. We talk a lot about libraries and all those different things that you can do at a local level, but when it comes down to it, make sure that you are able to make your voice heard on election day, and you're able to get out there on your own. For more information, depending on what state you're in, vote.org. That's a great way for you to go to find out more information, critical information about how your voter registration can be tracked in your state. The other way for every other state, if you don't want to go directly to vote.org, would be to check the Secretary of State's office for your state.
Yeah.
They usually have a very easy website. And when you're looking at things like that, you want to be making sure you're going to .gov or any link through vote.org. That's the best way to do it. If you have any questions about that, call your fucking state representative.
Yeah.
All right.
Or go to their office.
Go to their office.
Say
Knock
hi.
up. Just say, hey, how do I do this? Talk to an elected official. That's what they're elected for.
Yeah, that's
Please
why we
bug them.
pay
Please.
them.
Yes. We all pay them.
Also, you don't have to go this far. You don't. But I know around here, we're doing door knocking.
We are doing
Not
it
you, because I don't want to send you out into the
know.
world. Can you imagine Pearlmania 500 shows up at your door and tells you to register to vote?
Are you fucking registered?
We can't have him going door to door, but I'm gonna. And so if you have the ability and the time to go do that, or work the phone banks or any of that stuff, it's all really important to get involved, to get more people registered to vote.
Yeah, for whether, and then if you have whoever your favorite candidate is, again, I don't want to be partisan about this part.
Yours
of
is
it.
Jill Stein, though, right? She's a huge fan.
You know, she does email me more now. She does.
Yeah,
They're like, you want to do a TikTok live?
Your list of ops is crazy.
It is insane.
Your list of ops is crazy.
I have-
The fact that Jill Stein knows who both of us are and doesn't like us is the funniest thing to me.
The fact that
she was like, that guy and his wife, done.
the fact that my ops are Jill Stein, RFK Jr., Mike Lindell, the state of Maine. We'll get into it. No,
Hey, I love Maine.
I
Don't
know you
ever
do.
don't put me with that.
And I want to apologize to the person who was like, "Oh, I'm from Maine," and I went, "Ew."
Oh, they had to listen to that episode where you talk shit on Maine.
No, because they were there and they were talking, and it was just they were so nice, and I
Yeah.
just went, "Ew." I just couldn't not do it.
Same.
The same way when Adam Kinzinger was like, "And I love Ronald Reagan," and I just started screaming boos. Like I just can't. It's a Philly thing. I'm sorry.
He doesn't have. There's no
gauge on
pause.
that one. But with that,
Do you want to start this episode?
we should start this episode.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a longer intro today, but thank you guys so much. If you want to hear more about what we've been doing this month, we just had a really great episode of the warm up.
Yeah, we're warm.
Free on not free. It's Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
You gotta pay.
Way to really mess that up.
No, fuck it.
Way to really.
No, you gotta pay. Pearlmania500.net.
Because we tell secrets on there.
We do.
We need to paywall the secrets.
Listen, it's paywall to secrets, but also it's one of those ones where.
Anyway, let's start the episode.
Okay, we'll be right back after this.
Yo.
We're here.
You ready? You have
What?
no idea what this episode's
I
about.
have no idea. I've been
love that for
trying
me.
the entire time.
I'm not
I've been
gonna-
trying to figure out what is this episode about.
So here's what happened, right? This month, I had a theme in my mind.
Okay.
And I think this episode's really going to explain it.
Okay.
Because I started this month with Hetty Green,
Yeah.
the icon.
The Witch of Wall Street.
the Witch of Wall Street, an icon, an onion lover.
Yeah.
And then I talked about Ponzi.
Yeah, Charles
Right,
Ponzi.
Ponzi.
Yep.
And in there, I was talking about the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
Right? It's like this time where they make fucking HBO shows about it, and it's like reveled as like this beautiful time of America growing and industrialization and all this stuff, right? And this way of prosperity that existed through people becoming really rich on the backs of others. And so when I started this research, it was this idea that I wanted to look at both the Hetty Greens of the world, right?
Yeah.
The people that made all this money, the Ponzi's, the people that scammed all this money. And then today I really want to talk about who the fuck actually made the Gilded Age happen, which is labor, which is the people.
Okay.
The people that did all the work that got Hetty her money.
Gotcha.
You know, because she made money off of the railroad. She made money off investment. There was millions of people doing all the fucking labor to make her a millionaire to eat onions on a floor. Okay. And all the money that people made to give to Ponzi, which then they lost.
As she claimed residency in Vermont.
So she didn't have to pay taxes.
Even though the city, like, I'm never
Hetty, an icon. No, it's not appropriate. You should pay taxes.
No, I know. It's just that episode's so funny to me. The Hetty Green episode's so funny to me because, like, going back to it, like, there are so many times I was like, "Fuck yeah," you know what? But don't do that.
Yeah.
Like now, I'm like, okay, yeah, being the first one to do it, cool.
Don't do it again, though.
But don't fucking nobody else do it.
Okay, so the Gilded Age, right? That's what I've been talking about.
I love that you're saying. I love that you're saying it with a hoagie mouth.
The
fucking Gilded Age.
The fucking Gilded Age, dude.
The fucking Gilded Age.
So 1870.
It sounds like you're saying Gildan, like the
1870
like the
to 1890.
Yeah.
The political landscape was rampant with corruption and election turmoil. Okay. The dominant issues of the time with politics were cultural. It was a culture war regarding prohibition and education. Those are the two biggest hot topics, right?
No, I'm hitting them because I'm like, yeah, let's keep it going.
So, you know, if I was to look at that and say, oh, prohibition, the idea of like drugs being a problem, that is fentanyl, right?
Yeah.
And education, critical race theory, right?
Okay.
They also, the other huge part about their culture war, what had to do with ethnic and racial groups. So, Haitians in Ohio being attacked right now. So just to really say that like nothing has fucking changed.
No, in fact, actually the attack on Haitians in Ohio that was brought up during the presidential debate, which is a lie being propagated by J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz, and others, that was the same exact one used against Asian workers, especially from China, and brings up the Chinese Exclusion Act, which I'm sure you're going to get into.
I really wish you wouldn't do that.
I know, but I'm sorry. I already know the information, so spoiler for later in the episode.
Spoiler from 1870.
Yeah.
Also, their politics talked a lot about tariffs and money supply.
Oh, look at that.
Tariffs and inflation. What a shock.
Oh.
Specifically, urban politics were tied to industrial cities and unions. That was what urban politics were really, really talking about. And the unions were on a crusade demanding an 8-hour workday and the abolition of child labor.
Oh, you know what? That sounds woke.
It was pretty woke for the time.
That sounds pretty woke to want to be able to sleep and have your children not die in a factory fire.
Yeah.
Woke.
So,
woke. I hate that.
I think today, when I was doing all this research about the labor movement, I really zoned in on the 8-hour workday. Because right now, there's a lot of people that are trying to get a 4-day work week. Yeah. There's people that want to work from home that are being forced back to the office so that we can keep commercial real estate alive for some fucking reason.
For some reason.
So, 8-hour workday. That's what we're doing today.
Oh, that's what we're doing today? The 8-hour workday?
The 8-hour workday.
You know what? Okay. So there is a song I really like. So I've recently, and by recently, in the last year, I've super gotten into the band Against Me. They're like a folk punk band. They're amazing. You've heard me playing them all the time. They have this one song called Baby, I'm an Anarchist. And it's this really great song about like being an anarchist next to like the mealy mouth liberal. And it was like, we were in the street with me to fight for the 8-hour workday. And then you left me all alone. Like, it's just like, so I hear the word 8-hour workday like all the time because I listen to that song. And I'm a Teenage Anarchist and a few other over and over and over again. They're on like all my playlists. Yeah. So I'm super hype about this. Yeah. Because the 8-hour workday is one of those things that we just fucking take for granted now.
Yeah, we're so far removed from how it happened.
We're so used to it.
And we're like, 8 hours. Yeah. Yeah. So, So in 1864, write that down.
Bad year.
The 8-hour workday became the central demand of the Chicago labor movement.
Ooh.
The Illinois General Assembly passed a law in early 1867 granting an 8-hour workday, but it had so many loopholes that it was completely ineffective. So they passed it, and they're like, yeah, look, we made a law because people were running on this. And then it was actually unenforceable and ineffective. A citywide strike began May 1st, of 1867, which shut down the city's economy for a week before the actual strike collapsed on itself, as
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
But so immediately at the gate, labor movements demanding it. People give in, but the people that are writing the laws in the legislature,
leave so many
leave
loopholes.
so many loopholes, so it can't be enforced.
So that still happens today with a lot of different things. The one because I just found out about it. And you've mentioned it before. Flight attendants.
Oh yeah,
Flight attendants don't get paid until the plane takes off.
Yeah.
And so that whole, which like to me, like most of the job is before the plane takes off.
It's crazy. Yeah, I had a friend who was a flight attendant, and the any amount once they enter the airport, like I'm like, you have to drive to the airport. You get to the airport. They go through security. They have to wait, just like we have to wait for 2 to 3 hours. They have to be there early. They don't get paid for any of that.
Yep.
They have to get people onto the plane. All your annoying bag people.
Yep. They
all
have to
that
make sure all the
stuff.
food's set, all that different shit.
Then.
And then they got to do the whole deal.
Yeah.
This is where the exits are, the face
Put your
mask, the whole
mask
deal.
on.
They're not getting paid for that.
Nope.
Until the plane is actually taxiing and going to take off.
Yeah.
And so there's a delay. They're not being, I was like, this is fucking crazy. But part of that is there are loopholes, as they are not the same with like farm labor, the same way restaurant workers, all these different things get checked off under these weird little rules. We're like, no, they're essential.
You know what's crazy though? The flight attendants, they have a really big union.
They do,
But it's not powerful.
because they're not, again, they're considered essential.
Yeah.
So they're not allowed to do strikes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll get into it. So I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, though, about Chicago, I just want to bring that around, is like those still happen. We have all these crazy exemptions. Same thing when we get like major environmental legislation passed. This is for everyone, except the oil companies. This is for everyone, except for the people running AI data servers. Like it's weird. Like there are these little things in there. We're like, well, this is different though.
Yeah, except for them. The
It's
ones
not
with all the
size
money.
it's one size fits all for everyone
The
except
ones
for
with
the
the money.
billionaires.
So
Yeah.
in August of 1866, the National Labor Union at Baltimore. Oh yeah, I just want to clarify. This is all my research I pulled from all different things, and I really just let my undiagnosed ADHD run wild.
Go crazy.
So there were certain things that I just thought were so interesting that I shift away from stuff, just so you know what's happening. So we're going to go to Baltimore.
Okay.
The labor union there passed a resolution in 1866, quote, "The first and great necessity of the present to free labor of the country, to free the country from capitalist slavery, is the passing of a law by which 8 hours shall be the normal working day in all states of the American Union. We are resolved to put forth all of our strength until this glorious result is achieved."
Damn. I like that.
Yeah.
They straight up said
Bitch.
capitalist slavery.
Baltimore.
And this is the year after they got rid of regular slavery.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like the
Yeah.
year after. And also to note, people were working like not like 12, 16-hour days. Like it was like crazy.
24-hour.
Yeah, but they were like constant.
Yeah.
You would just get like a little bit of sleep. This was also at a time when not everyone had a bed. I just want to remind people, like, not everyone had a bed.
Yeah.
Like your great grandpa would probably be like, you're living pretty good. I don't know what you're bitching about.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Just want to throw that out there. All right, keep going.
In June of 1868, Congress passed an 8-hour law for federal employees, which also was basically ineffective. It established an 8-hour workday for laborers and mechanics employed by the federal government only. President Andrew Johnson had vetoed the act, but it was passed even though he vetoed. People were pissed because this basically ineffective piece of legislature that was calling for an 8-hour workday only for federal employees, what they wrote in the small print was that then their wages could be cut by 20% because of the cut in hours.
Oh.
And I know what you're thinking is like, oh, well, they're not working 18-hour shift. They're just working 8 hours, so they're going to lose that hourly rate. No, they're saying that instead of $17 an hour, you're going to get paid $10 an hour. They're cutting the wage.
Oh.
So it's like, this is your punishment
for not
asking
getting
not work
this.
as many.
That's so fucked up. But also the reason why it passed is because everyone hated Andrew Johnson.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Andrew Johnson was like one of the more because he was the one after Lincoln got assassinated.
Yeah.
Andrew Johnson was installed. He was the vice president, but he was also a consensus vice president. Like he was for unity. he was basically a Democrat and didn't want, like, there's a whole thing with Reconstruction with him. Everyone fucking hated Andrew Johnson.
Yeah.
So just want to be clear about that. We don't need to go too much into this.
Yeah,
side.
I don't want to go into him because he's the worst.
He sucks.
So
He was the first impeached president.
in May of 1869, President Ulysses S. Grant issued a proclamation directing that the wages of federal government, quote, laborers, workmen, and mechanics paid by the day could not be cut when their workday was reduced to 8 hours. So he updated the 1868 law.
Okay.
He made the revision to the law so that if you were working the 8-hour day, you didn't get less hourly.
Gotcha.
And they were not making $16 an hour. That was
that was just the number you pulled out of your head.
like 10 cents an hour.
Yeah.
At its convention in Chicago, 1884, the Federation of Organized Trades and Labor Unions resolved, quote, 8 hours shall constitute a legal day's labor from and after May 1st, 1886, and that we recommend to labor organizations throughout the jurisdiction that they so direct their laws as to conform to this resolution by the time named. So they're saying, the Federation of Trades and Labor Unions, that by May 1st, you got to get everybody on the 8-hour workday, or there's going to be issues. There's going to be problems.
Gotcha. So I just want to point out, this is 1884. We've now jumped 15 years from Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah.
Because just to remind everybody, 'cause I just want to put that in context because the federal minimum wage has been at $7.25 an hour in America since 2009, which is 15 years ago today.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everybody of where we're at.
This all takes time.
So fucking long.
And we have to remember that because we are in an age where if you want something, you can have it delivered in an hour, you know, like, or I can Amazon it in 2 days, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all used to such immediate things that the idea that you had to wait for 15 years before we're talking about the unions again being like, we need the 8-hour workday.
15 Christmases, 15 springs, 15 summers, 15 falls, 15 winters. Like just to get to this. And they picked May 1st because it's
May Day. But we didn't. Listen. So
I know this one. Go ahead.
The leadership of the Knights of Labor. You know about the Knights of Labor? So the leadership of the Knights of Labor under Terence V. Powderly rejected appeals to join the movement as a whole. So they're talking about joining the Federal Organization of Trade and Labor Unions, right? Because Terence Powderly didn't like strikes. He is the boss of the Knights of Labor. He doesn't like strikes, though. He thinks they're like archaic or whatever. So the thing is, he's the big boss of Knights of Labor, right? He's the big guy. All the other local Knights of Labor assemblies could do whatever they wanted, right? Because there's like a Chicago, there's a Philly, there's a New York, there's a Jersey, there's a Maryland. All those different assemblies, they were like, we're going to fucking strike. We don't have to listen to the boss. Yeah. And I was like, what's up, Teamsters? What's good, Teams? If you don't know, I follow a lot of union Teamster shit.
Yeah.
And the Teamsters right now, their big boss, O'Brien.
Yeah.
Fuck that dude. He is being real mealy-mouthed because he's an RNC supporter. He's a you-know-who supporter. And the Teamsters fucking hate that guy because he's anti-union.
Yeah.
And so he is saying that, the Teamsters are pro-Trump. But each local Teamsters chapter is coming out in support of the Democrats.
Yeah.
And so this is happening back then too.
Yeah.
Their big guy Powderly is like, no, we don't want to do strikes. We don't believe in boycotts. This isn't how things work. And all the local groups,
like, then how's it fucking work?
Talking about
how fucks it work? Also, telling the Irish, anyone who's seen me do stand up now would know. Telling the Irish to not do a boycott when they fucking invented it, like, it's crazy.
So then, here's what happened. I was reading about this, and I got stuck on Knights of Labor.
Okay,
so I immediately was like, I have to.
Okay, so we're in 1884 Knights of Labor.
Okay, yeah. So then I'm going to talk about the Knights of Labor and who they are. So in 1869, Uriah Smith Stevens, and a small group of Philadelphia tailors founded a secret organization known as the Noble Order of the Knights of Labor.
Okay. The Noble Order of the Knights.
Yeah, so a group of Philly tailors.
Listen, I'm just... Okay. I do miss those days, though. I miss when people, when they'd come up with their organization, like that shit was like hard. You know what I mean? Like, what are we? We're the Knights of Labor. We're a noble order. We come from behind you, slit your throat with our tailor scissors. Like, we don't do that shit anymore. Like, now they're just like, what are you? We're the AFP 97. What? Shut up.
You big.
Or their names are so long because they want to be so inclusive.
No.
But the fucking noble order.
If you're going to have a long name, I need it to
be a cool acronym.
Be a cool acronym.
It's gotta be.
I can't. I can't. Throwback.
But I miss dudes meeting in a tavern, plotting.
Yeah.
I want a dark tavern plot. Okay. Yeah. This is what I need. I need dudes in a dark tavern, and I need them to be seated. And then one of them be like, "Are we agreed, gentlemen?" And then they stab the table with a knife. You got to stab the table with a knife, and that is a thing. And then you go, "Let's go!" And then before you know it, you're stuck in a shack next to John Brown at Harper's Ferry, and you're like, "Where'd we go wrong?"
So the Noble Order of the Knights of Labor became popular with trade unions. And the Pennsylvania coal miners. So all the Philly and Pennsylvania coal miners trade unions all started to become part of the Noble Order of Knights of Labor.
Yeah.
During the economic depression of the 1870s, and they grew rapidly.
Yeah. Because they're a noble order.
Yeah. The Knights of Labor was a diverse industrial union open to all workers, right? So they took what some would call low-skilled and high-skilled workers, right? Yeah. The leaders felt that it was best to have a versatile population in order to get all points of view from all aspects. What a fucking shock.
I'm shocked by this
We should
idea.
have all different perspectives? What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Knights of Labor barred only 5 groups from membership.
Okay.
There's only 5 groups of people that were not allowed to join. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm lying. There's actually 6, but we're going to start with the 5 that they named.
Okay.
Bankers.
Okay.
Land speculators.
Okay.
Lawyers.
Okay.
Liquor dealers.
Okay.
And gamblers.
Aw. Well, they're not going to get... That's you know what? They're never getting a DraftKings sponsorship.
It's neither way. It's never... Sorry.
Why just blurt that out? Neither way.
Because
I know. They offer a bunch.
I said no.
The amount of things we turn down.
Crazy.
It hurts my bank account every day.
I'm not signing up for DraftKings. Fuck that. I hate gambling.
But real quick, this message has been brought to you by...
No.
Better?
No.
Okay.
Its members included low-skilled workers, railroad workers, immigrants, and steel workers.
Yep.
This helped the workers get an organizational identity. As one of the largest labor organizations in the 19th century, the Knights wanted to classify the workers as it was a time where large-scale factories and industries were growing so fast. So it was hard to label and classify workers, but they're using this idea of if you're a Knights of Labor, that's the thing you use. You don't have to say you're a low-skilled worker. You can say that you're a Knights of Labor, right? So they're trying to use that as a way to get people to join, and it worked. They They got 1 million workers were enrolled by 1886.
Gotcha. No, and it makes total sense too, because it's the same thing that happens a lot right now with Uber and Lyft drivers, right? It's one thing if you say someone's an Uber or Lyft driver, you don't think of them the same. But if you're like, no, these are Knights of Labor members, then you're just like, oh, these are people that if they're a Knights of Labor member, they deserve more.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
As membership expanded, the Knights began to function more as a labor union and less as a secret organization. The Knights of Labor played a massive role in independent and third-party movements politically. The local assemblies began to emphasize cooperative enterprises and initiate strikes to win concessions from employers. So they're really moving away from secret backroom stuff that you were talking about and really organizing the workforce.
But you should still do some secret backroom stuff. Hold on. But still do some secret backroom stuff, okay? I feel like...
Can you put something at the bottom of the screen that's we do not approve of...
Hear me out, okay? When you're out there in the daylight, do whatever you want. But nighttime, secret back when you are noble order.
The Knights of
Labor
brought together workers from different religions, races, and genders and helped them all unify for a cause. In 1882, the Knights ended their membership rituals and removed the words noble order from their name. So here's the thing. Noble order had been added to quell the concerns of all their Catholic members because the Catholics didn't want to join because they thought it was Freemasonry.
Was that the 6th one?
No, that's
what?
not It's gonna be Asian people.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It's gonna get dark.
Okay.
But
Well, hold on.
yeah.
Let's dial it back.
Yeah, the
Just
Catholics.
real quick to the Catholic thing. Because there's the whole thing with Freemasons and
Yeah.
Catholics. They
Not
are
fans.
not fans of each other.
Not fans.
Because it really is Protestants Catholics again.
Yeah.
That's all it really comes down to.
Yeah.
The noble order side gets taught. I like that they toss that on.
Yeah.
They're like,
put noble order and makes the Catholics join.
Yeah. It's like the Rosencrantz. Yeah, whatever. Get out of there with the rosaries. It's cool. That's so funny.
The Knights' primary demand was for an 8-hour workday. They called for legislation to end child and convict labor as well. They also were against graduated income tax. They also supported co-ops. And the only woman to hold office for the Knights of Labor, her name was Leonora Barry, who worked as an investigator. So again, we have women involved. We have convicts involved. We have people from different religions, and they also are representing children. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a really all-encompassing. And then, so what happened? I was like, "Who's this Leonora Barry?"
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Who's this
So
investigator?
here we go.
So then I opened a tab for Leonora Barry, and I
Okay.
started researching her. I found some books on her.
To remind everybody, this episode is about the 8-hour workday.
It takes a lot of people.
We are 30 minutes in.
It takes a lot of people and a lot of years to get anything fucking done.
I know.
And so we have to look at that.
Okay.
Okay?
Don't get
Leonora Barry
Okay.
is an investigator.
Sure.
She dedicated her life to improving the wages and working conditions of women throughout the United States. She traveled across the nation to investigate female working conditions while also serving as a spokesperson for female laborers. Her reports to the General Assembly in 1887, 1888, and 1889 describe the harsh conditions in factories with reports of abuse to women and children. These reports made her the first person to ever collect national statistics on American working women. And there were at the time over 65,000 women working in the labor force. And that doesn't include children. That's just women.
Yeah.
But she was the first person to ever put together the fucking statistic spreadsheet on all the harsh labor and abuse that was happening to women.
Wow.
She found herself unable to build a solid following due to apathy of working women. Because of the difficulties faced, it was really hard to organize them because the men were, even within the Knights of Labor, were really fucked up to them. So also the women that were better paid workers would be reluctant to join labor movements for fear that they would get cast down to the worst jobs.
Yeah. No,
Right.
I understand. I understand what white women are like. Okay. This is also to keep in mind that this is before women even have the right to vote.
Yeah.
Because this is before 1920, so women don't have full suffrage.
Yeah.
But also, that's exactly what happens a lot of times when you have a specific, especially a class that gets treated as an underclass. With some people get treated a little bit better, they don't want to put at risk their preferential treatment that they're getting, and they can. But it's preferential compared to the other people in their group, but it's still less than everyone who's considered normal
It's the shit
gets.
sandwich has a slice of cheese, while everybody else's shit sandwich doesn't have cheese.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
Thanks.
I'm really smart.
So, also just like what was I thinking? Like the apathy that she was dealing with is like, I don't even think it's apathy. Like, it's described in the history books as apathy, but it's exhaustion.
No, it's
these
totally
women
exhaustion.
are raising families, they're running households, and they're working these crazy jobs. Like, there's no time to go to a Knights Labor meeting, babes.
No.
Like, I got 6 kids. My husband's, in a coal mine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they were apathetic. I think they were exhausted. And the historians are historically male are just like, oh, well, the women didn't want to join. It's like, what time? How many hours in a day,
But it's
babe?
also historians who are typically being funded by the people who want to suppress labor on top of that, who are like, they're just tired.
They're just being apathetic.
Also, they were just really close friends.
Yeah.
They were just really close
they were
friends.
just roommates.
They were just roommates.
As Leonora remarked, some women, quote, had a habit of submission and acceptance without question of any terms offered, with this pessimistic view of life which they see no ray of hope. So she understands, like, women are raised to be submissive and acceptance of bullshit. So it was really hard for her to.
Well, it's also that thing we talk about with trad wives.
Yeah.
Like some trad wives, especially ones who come from a Mormon background or especially a deeply Midwestern evangelical background, they were raised to believe that, you have to submit to your husband.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're going to lose access to your kids in heaven. This same sort of general idea is happening to many of these women. And this is all before first wave feminism. This is before the suffragette movement has really kicked off into full gear to getting anywhere near that. We're talking about before the prohibition. So everyone's hammered and beating each other in the streets. This is before also child abuse laws, which people should remember were brought out because of dogs. Of so many other different things. I'm sure you're going to get into that later too.
I'm not going to get into that. I just remembered that.
Yeah. Yeah. The SPCA is the reason we have laws against child abuse. A guy beat his son so badly that they had to treat the kid as a dog in court.
Yeah.
And at the time, a father could not be charged unless you killed the kid. Abuse wasn't considered because the child was considered their property.
Yeah.
Same thing with women.
Yeah.
Legally.
And just like now, if you hurt a dog.
Yeah. People are like, you can't hit a dog. But if you want to know more about this, there's a little book called Project 2025 and how we can get back to those good days.
Yeah, woo! Her efforts in this whole regard were most visible in the 1889 passage of the first Pennsylvania Factory Inspection Act. So because of all of her work, there actually was an act passed in Pennsylvania.
They were like, we're going to actually look at some of these places.
We're going to look at these factories. We're going to do a walkthrough.
It took, we are 25 years from the 8-hour Chicago thing. And they're like, all right, we'll walk through
Once
the factory.
a year, we'll walk through.
All right.
We'll get eyes on the place, but we're not doing anything about it.
But we're going to look and we'll
look.
We'll write a strongly worded letter.
However, so Barry, she would not lobby politicians. The Knights of Labor wanted her to lobby politicians because she considered such activity unladylike.
That sounds about right.
I need to just let you know that Leonora, she is of her time. Okay, she has strong beliefs, and so she was willing to go to do all this labor work, but at the same time, she's like, women don't do this. She's very that. She wouldn't talk at lobby with politicians, but she did give over 500 speeches over the course of her career, talking about women and children, liberation and labor. This is her quote of her goals, right? Her goal was to liberate women and girls, quote, from the remorseless grasp of tyranny and greed, the thousands of underpaid women and girls in our large cities who, suffering the pangs of hunger, cold, and privation, oftentimes yield and fall into yawning chasm of immorality.
Yeah, they get trafficked. That's basically
they get
what
so
she's
tired
saying.
in the industrial
that just the fact
world
that
they end up in being trafficked in the sex work.
Yeah, that's 100% what she's saying.
Yeah. Barry felt women should not work outside the household. See, I know. Yeah. She's of her time, and that she's like, no, I don't think women should be working.
Yeah.
Except in the cases of economic need. Barry got into political disputes within the Knights of Labor and became the op to the general secretary. His name's John Hayes. Fucking hater, John Hayes. In 1888, John Hayes took control of the women's department. Okay. And harassed her out.
Okay.
So that's just classic John Hayes energy.
Yeah.
You know who should run the women's department of the Knights of Labor?
John
fucking Hayes. Oh my God. So she resigned in 1890 because of all of his bullshit.
Yeah.
And that when she resigned, he actually just closed the Department of Women's Work.
Oh.
Because John Hayes is a bag of shit.
Gotcha.
I want that in the wiki page. He doesn't even have a wiki page. I hope he rots.
Oh shit.
I hope he rots.
You don't have to hope he is rotting.
No, I'm glad his memory's dead.
Babe.
I'm glad his memory's dead.
Babe.
I'm glad that he's rotting on our podcast right now.
Wow.
Fuck that dude.
Wow.
Fuck that dude.
John Hayes.
While all this is happening, she gets married. Upon her marriage to Obadiah Reed Lake, she resigned from the Knights and she gave a speech. She kind of backtracked everything she did and said during her speech, because again, she believes that if a woman's married, the man should be the sole provider, right?
Yeah.
Quote, if it were possible, I wish that it were not necessary for women to learn any trade, but that of domestic duties, as I believe it was intended for a man to be the breadwinner. Next quote, But as that is impossible under present conditions, I believe women should have every opportunity to become proficient in whatever vocation they choose or find themselves best fitted for.
That's such
Duality.
Okay.
Duality.
You know, I saw a thing the other day where it's talking about universal pre-K.
Yeah.
And not just pre-K, it's universal like child care from 0 to 4.
Okay.
And it was this guy giving a fake speech. And he was like, yeah, I believe that we should have like free childcare for everyone. I was like, yay. He's like, again, though, not because I care for kids. It's the best return on investment. It's a 13% return on investment to each. Every dollar spent on free childcare will result in a $1.13 in like, I was like, oh, but like the way they sold it was just like, I believe in the universe. Like, yay. Again, I hate children.
I just don't like them.
I just hate kids so much, but this will free up the workforce.
Yeah.
So that way we have more productive people and future workers. And everyone's like, fuck you. But that's exactly what she's saying.
Yeah.
She's like, again, I understand you'll starve to death if you can't get a job. So you should be allowed to read, but I don't think you should.
Yeah. Also, just like this dude comes in and starts like bullying her out of her job, and she's like, I better get married. I can't do this anymore. I got to get married.
Yeah.
And then she's like, once you get married, you don't got to do this anymore, y'all. She did, though. She did keep giving speeches and pushing. Even though she was married, she didn't do as much work because women shouldn't work when they're married to husbands. So she still engaged with the Knights of Labor work without the Knights of Labor. She still was out there doing the thing.
Yeah, she was kind of doing all
but in a more subtle married lady way.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break, and then we can talk about how you shouldn't be working when you're married.
I'm working right now.
I know. And that is letting down the memory of, what was her name again? Leonora? What was her last name?
Oh, Leonora Barry.
Barry. I almost said Berenstain. Leonora Berenstain Bear.
Let's take a break.
All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to learn more about, but this is the 8-hour work week?
Yeah.
The 8-hour work week.
Where'd we go?
We're back.
Yo,
Go ahead.
we're back. Listen, okay. So then what happened is that I was like, Knights of Labor, I wanted to talk about that Powderly guy. He's the president of Knights of Labor. Remember the one that doesn't like strikes?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this guy's really weird, right? So he finally does start supporting strikes in 1885 during the Wabash Railroad strikes. There was a carpenter who was a member of the Knights of Labor, right? And when the bosses at the railroad found out, they fired him because they found out he attended a Knights of Labor meeting. And so Powderly knew that if people started getting fired for being members, it was going to be a shit show.
That'd be the end of the
So
Knights
he
Labor.
supported a strike against this railroad for the firing of that guy.
Because then he won't be the boss anymore.
Exactly.
That's suddenly, you know, I see this one. That's classic politician.
Yeah.
Oh, suddenly it affects me. I've changed my mind.
I've changed my mind. So the Knights of Labor planned a strike, which included stopping the tracks, closing down the yard, stopping engine maintenance, and control and sabotage of different equipment.
See, that's back when strikes were strikes.
Yeah, strikes were strikes.
Yeah, strikes were strikes back then.
The railroad people met with Powderly and agreed to call off his campaign, or they agreed to stop firing people that joined the Knights of Labor if he backed off, right? When other people found out that they reached a middle ground and that no longer people would be fired, the Knights of Labor actually got a huge boost. I guess it got written about in a lot of papers in membership, and membership surged. So by 1886, the Knights at that point have over 700,000 members.
Okay.
Now, like I said, they're bringing together all different people from all different walks of life. So Catholics and Protestants, they're getting along as best they can.
As best they can. Can't let their kids date, but
now,
they can all be
listen,
there.
Yeah. They accepted women and black people as members and advocated for the admission of black people into local assemblies. However, the organization did tolerate segregation. Okay. And I told you, they don't like bankers, lawyers, liquor manufacturers, because they were said they're unproductive members of society. But the big one was Asian people.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Knights of Labor strongly supported the passage of the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882 and the Contract Labor Law of 1885, as did many labor groups, demonstrating their limit to the commitment of solidarity, right? This all really comes to a head. The Union Pacific Railroad came into conflict with the Knights. The Knights of Labor in Wyoming refused to work more hours in 1885. So the railroad hired Chinese workers as strikebreakers. And the railroad knew that this would stir up racial animosity. They knew it would cause problems. The result was the Rock Springs Massacre, which resulted in at least 28 Chinese miners being murdered and 15 injured. And that's what the history books wrote down. I don't think that I think it's probably way bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These assholes burned 78 Chinese homes, resulting in approximately $150,000 in property damage, which I did the math, is equal to over $5 million in 2024.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So they burned down their homes. They murdered a bunch of people because they were strikebreakers. But these guys also didn't know they were strikebreakers. They were brought in blindly on trains from the San Francisco area.
Yeah.
And were just told, go work. We'll give you, food.
They have no idea what's going on.
They have no idea. And so at these meetings, the Knights of Labor are like, we'll take anybody except for this group.
Yeah.
And a lot of the talking points were that, these people are awful. They eat dogs and cats. They can't be trusted. They're different than us. They don't live like us. Like when I did the research, it got real dark, but it also was so similar to what's happening right now.
It's exactly
Shocking.
the same. It's the same exact lines that they're using against the Haitian migrants, legal Haitian migrants in Ohio, and then also in a town in
escaping
Pennsylvania.
Haiti. Which what's going on over there isn't so awful that the fact that they're coming here to get jobs and be a part of a community and raise up a community.
Yeah.
Like after the mayor was talking about how amazing they've been in the community, why?
You're talking about the mayor of Springfield, Ohio.
Yeah, the mayor of Springfield. Yeah,
now,
it makes me really pissed off.
I know. The other part of it, though, is it's very similar in that because one of the big things that locals in Springfield, Ohio, which is the tiny little nugget that they're fostering the hate out of, is that having extra people there in an area that isn't used to having as many people has put a strain on resources, which is the same exact thing. You sprinkle in the racism of the shit with cats and dogs and all the other different stuff. Sprinkle that on top. But it's the same thing. This is two groups fighting over a resource. What's the resource? The resource is the job. In Wyoming, there isn't much else to do.
Yeah.
You could either be building the railroad right now, you could be mining, or you could be a rancher or somebody who has a bunch of land. And so the landowners and the railroad are pitting these groups against each other the same exact way J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are pitting voters against each other by using an outside group that has absolutely no power and trying to use them and xenophobia against them.
Exactly.
It's just insane. It's insane how you just photocopy time. Yeah. It's just a different font.
Yeah.
They used to write more in Helvetica back then, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So I don't have any upper this is just going to get a little darker. It's a little dark time. Because and you know what the thing is as I was doing this research and I said I was going off on these little segue points of wait, what happened? I didn't want to turn away from how fucked up this is. No, I know. Right? Because talking about all the cool shit that Leonora did, you have to look at the fucked up shit they did too.
Exactly. And one thing to remind everybody when talking about American history, I think a lot. There was a Chris Rock joke years and years ago about he's only white guys want to time travel.
Yeah.
And he's only white guys want to time travel. And I was like, what? And I remember listening to this joke, and he was as a black guy, he's I can't time travel before 1986.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that's about. It's around there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You have to keep in mind for Kamala Harris being the current presidential candidate is incredible because she is from the first post-segregation generation.
Yeah.
When she went to college, all those different things. When she went to college the first time at Howard, there's all these different changes. And so we have to keep that in mind constantly and consistently. And it's the same thing as to realize of how soon everything is. When we're talking about the 8 hour, you still haven't even gotten to when the 8 hour work week begins.
We haven't even got there.
We aren't even at a point where women can vote.
Yeah.
And we're not that long ago.
Yeah.
We're under 150 years ago.
Yeah.
We're about 3 grandmas. We're daisy chaining 3 grandmas together and we're right here.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So, okay. So, like I said, that they had included Black people and Black workers
Yes.
into the Knights of Labor, and they were supporting African American sugarcane laborers. And the Knights of Labor organized a sugarcane labor strike in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay. This led to, and I'm going to butcher this word and I apologize. It's called Thibodeaux. It's Thiboudaux. Thibodeaux.
Okay.
The Thibodeaux massacre, which was an episode of racial violence that occurred November of 1887, which was following a 3-week strike. The laborers went on a strike during the critical harvest season of sugarcane, which was over 10,000 workers protested the living and working conditions that existed at sugarcane plantations in 4 parishes,
Which is counties.
but also based on churches.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. So there's, I can't even say them. I can't say them because it's like, they're all French words. La Fourche, Terrebonne, Saint Mary, and the Assumption. Again, these are churches. The strike was the largest in the history of the industry. At the planters' request, the state sent the militia in to protect strike breakers and ambush the strikers. And work resumed on some plantations. Black workers and their families were evicted from plantations at all the parishes, and they all retreated and moved to Thibodeaux. Tensions erupted into violence in November of 1887 when an unknown white man entered a Black-owned barroom and killed a Black laborer and wounded another. Violence continued when 5 town guards were ambushed and 2 wounded, and local white paramilitary forces responded by attacking Black workers and their families. Although the total number of casualties is, quote, unknown, I'm putting the quote there, the consensus is at least 35 Black people were killed during the next 3 days. Historians estimate that it was 50 to 100. So again, the numbers are, the total tally of killed, wounded, and missing is rumored to be in the hundreds, which makes the most violent labor dispute in U.S. history. Reportedly, the victims included elderly people, women, and children. All of the people that were killed were African American. And the Knights of Labor organized this, but didn't set up any safety protocol. Okay, that's why it's important to do safety protocol when you do these things, right? And the Knights of Labor really kind of abandoned them after this. After this all went down, the Knights of Labor were like, okay, peace out. Like I couldn't find any like follow up of like, how are we going to get back from this? How are we going to help people rebuild? How are we going to financially help people that are now experiencing the death of like maybe their soul breadwinner? There's none of that in the history books. Like there was no support system, right? It was so fucked up. After the massacre, there was a bunch of discriminatory state legislation filed by white Democrats, including legislation that disenfranchised Black people even more, which ended the organizing of sugar workers until 1940.
Yeah. Yep. There we go.
So I'm going to get back. I just wanted to be mad for a minute.
No.
I just wanted to be real mad because as I was reading, I was getting so mad.
Well,
I was like, you guys talked about inclusion. You talked about solidarity. But then there's these groups of people where you're hurting them and on purpose because they're not meeting your specific things. And people died and it didn't get remedied till 1940.
It wasn't remedied. Really. It's not even remedied today.
Exactly.
No, the sugar plantation labor issues are so insane. Today, a lot of it is done through migrant labor. And it is, especially when you get down to Florida, it's still one of the darker parts of current American history.
Yeah.
So it's still not fixed.
No.
And it's also one of those ones where you get into regional powers and all this different stuff. The South has never had a really big it's had major labor movements, but not unionization in the same exact way that we have in the North. And a big part of that was due to Jim Crow. Yeah. Because again, they were able to keep Black laborers the same way. In the West, they used Chinese laborers. They were able to suppress them to a low enough area that whites would feel that they were above it. Yeah. Hey, at least I'm not being treated like him, was the whole thought process. So it was really until you get the civil rights movement of the 1960s where you start to see a turn on a lot of this stuff. But again, we're still digging out from the shit that happened from all the way back then.
Yeah. May 1st. Let's go back to May Day.
Okay.
May 1st. Albert Parsons, head of the Chicago Knights of Labor. So I'm still in the Knights of Labor, but I'm in Chicago.
Okay.
Led 80,000 people down Michigan Avenue in Chicago in what is regarded as the first modern May Day parade. Very first one.
Yep.
With the cry, quote, 8-hour day and no cut in pay.
That's a good way of doing it.
That's a good. Okay.
Yeah, you got to have a good slogan.
When you're chanting, it's got to be good.
It's got to be
a good rhyme. It's got to be
the
effective.
longer they go,
too long.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there.
Okay.
This is what democracy looks like. We're done with that one.
It's over.
Like, I can't tell you. I've been hearing that chant for like 20 fucking years now.
And if this is what it looks like,
we're stuck.
I've seen some things.
There's a bunch of things like that where it's like, if you have to keep going. I remember there was one march I was at where it was like they had these 2-line chants, but it was like almost like a pithy poem.
Yeah.
And there was like a drummer, and I was like, that's not the same.
No.
8-hour day
with no cut and pay.
No cut and pay. We're done. Perfect.
Slaps.
Just stick with that.
In the next few days, they were joined nationwide by 350,000 workers that went on strike in over 1,200 factories, including 70,000 in Chicago, 45,000 in New York, 32,000 in Cincinnati, and thousands across other cities. Some workers gained shorter hours, 8 or 9, with no reduction in pay, while others accepted pay cuts with the reduction of hours.
Okay.
So this is one of the very first successful May Day movements.
Yeah.
Really across the cities. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, who the fuck is Albert Parsons?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is he? So Albert Parsons was an American socialist and later anarchist newspaper editor and labor activist. And, you know, I read those like kind of opening lines of like pioneering American socialists, blah, blah. But then I read the second paragraph on him and I was like, hold the fuck on. As a young man, he served in the military force of the Confederacy during the Civil War.
Okay.
He's from Texas and he fought on the side of the Confederates.
Okay.
After the war, he returns to Texas. He's from Waco. He returns to Waco, Texas, and he traded his mule for 40 acres of standing corn. He started hiring ex-slaves to help with the harvest and netted a sufficient sum of money from the sale of the crop to pay for 6 months tuition at Waco University, which is known as Baylor today.
Okay.
And so the history about him is after fighting in the war, he realized he absolutely did not stand with what they were fighting for. He believed in the abolition of slavery. And so one of his things was he started hiring these ex-slaves so that they could build funds to then move to the north if they like or whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So after the war, he became an abolitionist and he wanted to go to school for journalism at Baylor. After college, he took up the printing trade, eventually launching his own newspaper, the Waco Spectator. In his paper, Parsons took the position of accepting the terms of surrender and reconstruction measures aimed at securing the political rights of former slaves. This is a quote from his about his newspaper. I became a Republican and of course had to go into politics. I incurred thereby the hate and contempt of many of my former Army comrades, neighbors, and the Ku Klux Klan. My political career was full of excitement and danger. I took the stump to vindicate my convictions. The lately enfranchised slaves over a large section of the country came to know me as their friend and defender, while on the other hand, I was regarded as a political heretic and traitor by many of my former associates.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. Right? So this
Okay.
is the guy running the Chicago Knights of Labor. Okay? He moved from Waco to Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay? So then
He was like, bro, I'm from Waco. They burn down my house every other week. Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
with his wife, Lucy Parsons, he moved to Chicago in 1873 and worked in newspapers and then became interested in the rights of workers, right? So then I'm looking at this, and Lucy Parsons has her own highlighted little thing. And I was like, well, who's his wife, Lucy Parsons? Lucy Parsons. I could do a whole episode on Lucy Parsons. She was a social anarchist and later an anarcho-communist? I don't know.
Anarcho-communist. Anarcho-communist.
Anarcho-communist. Why is there an H there?
Anarcho.
Why is there an H?
It's like, because she's into anarchy.
Yeah.
That's how you spell anarchy.
Okay.
So it's like
I see.
She's into communism,
Yeah.
but she's also an anarchist. It's that blend.
So
okay.
right away.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you what anarcho-communism means.
Yeah.
annoying in a comment section. Okay,
I'm just telling you this. I saw this first sentence and I was like, let's read more.
Okay.
I was like, wait, what's she doing?
Yeah.
Her early life is completely a mystery because people don't write history about women back then.
Yeah.
She herself said she was mixed Mexican and Native American ancestry. Historians believe that she was born an African-American slave, possibly in Virginia, then married a freedman in Texas. In addition to Parsons, like she had been married multiple times, she went by different surnames, including Carter, Diaz, Gonzalez, and Hull. So she was a mystery. She was doing all kinds of moves.
Yeah.
If she got out of Virginia, she was making moves. She met Albert Parsons in Waco, Texas, and claimed to have married them, although there are no records to be found that they got married.
Okay.
They moved to Chicago together.
But they're anarchists, so why would there be fucking records?
They're not doing paperwork.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Her politics were shaped by the harsh repression of the Chicago Railroad strike. And she joined the International Working Men's Association and later the Knights of Labor. And she set up the Chicago Working Women's Union. So she set up a whole other union.
Yeah, because she saw what happened to your girl.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was like, fuck this, dude. We can't be doing that in this place because they'll fuck us over.
Exactly. She said, not what happened over there. I'm going to start my own.
Yeah.
After Albert Parsons' death, she became internationally famous as an anarchist speaker, touring frequently across the United States and England, and was the founding member of the Industrial Workers of the World. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917, she moved a lot towards communism, and she became a notorious political figure. And this is the out of all the things she's done, this is the funniest sentence of them all. She was so notorious as a political figure for her speaking engagements that she would do them all over Chicago, right? The Chicago police attempted for decades to stop her from publicly speaking. She was the rock in their shoe. Every time she spoke, the cops were like, oh, we gotta shut her down. She was so anti-cop that the Chicago police had like a file on her and were constantly like trying to shut down her speaking events.
I'm telling you. I knew it. All right? The second you're like, I'm an anarcho-communist, I'm like, Jesus, you're probably right 98% of the time, but fuck, are you annoying?
No, like, I love her. I bet she was the pebble in their shoe for decades, and I love that for them.
That's incredible.
She seemed incredible. So back to May 1st, 1886.
Okay.
300,000 workers are on strike across the United States.
Yep.
In Chicago, Parsons' family led a peaceful demonstration of 80,000 people down Michigan Avenue demanding the 8-hour workday. 2 days later, during a speech, Chicago police and the Pinkertons attacked the gathering, shooting at least one person dead. So Parsons is speaking when this is happening, Albert, and the Pinkertons and the cops attack. On May 4th, Lucy Parsons was organizing a meeting to support a striking sewing women's group and asked Albert Parsons to join her. On the same night, they were at a protest against the recent police brutality at the nearby Haymarket Square. At the square, there were a few thousand people, and Albert Parsons took the podium to speak. After the speech, 176 police officers marched into the square and ordered demonstrators to disperse. In response, a bomb was thrown from the crowd towards the cops. The police immediately opened fire, shooting at least 7 workers dead, while 1 police officer died and 6 others succumbed to their injuries later. It is likely that in the chaos, the officers were killed by police bullets. I'm just saying. The incident became known as the Haymarket Affair.
Yep. Also known as the Haymarket Rat Massacre or the Haymarket Riots.
Yeah.
Cops shooting one of their own. Who would have been shocked by that? It hadn't happened recently in New York. It didn't happen on camera recently in New York. And the mayor got to be like, hey, listen, cop, look how much they put their life on their line.
From each other.
From each other.
Okay, so here's the thing. Albert Parsons was executed in 1887. He was hanged, convicted of conspiracy in the Haymarket Affair.
Yep.
He's one of the people, I think it was 4 or 5, that were committed for...
And that was one of the reasons where we get the International Labor Day.
Yep.
And that's what I did a video about.
Labor Day is Haymarket Square.
I was good. I knew when you said Albert Parsons, I was like, I know where he dies. I was sitting there. I was like, I know where this goes.
I know.
But I didn't say anything.
You didn't know
any
any of the lore, though.
Huh?
You didn't know the lore about him or his wife, though.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know the deep lore. I was like, I know where this goes, though.
You knew about the Haymarket Massacre. Come on.
I know.
That's the thing. Is like I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, but tell me about the people.
Yeah, we got to go to Chicago.
Let's,
we got to do a family trip to Chicago.
I want to go. eat
We
stuff.
go, listen, I want to do the architecture tour, but I also want to go to like these labor like museums and all that different stuff and go check all this stuff out. It's difficult too, because like when you're learning about labor, and especially the history of labor, like from this time, when you're thinking about it, you're like, okay, well, how would I explain this to people? Like, oh, I'd make a show like Peaky Blinders or something like that. But it's gonna be all soot.
Yeah.
Like it's all gonna be like soot and that like type of clothing. And like there's like a thing where some people automatically turn it off unless you update a couple things in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to like figure out like how to explain to people this stuff. To like keep it, to make it more appealing to the masses.
There's
like an opiate of the masses.
What was I thinking? There was one book I read that wasn't about this. It was about that murderer guy that made the house. Maybe
H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes in Chicago.
Yeah.
The White City, the Midnight City.
Oh,
There's a quote fiction book about it where they really go into how
that
he got away with it.
Yeah.
But the way that they show Chicago, like to have all of these meat packing plants in a city, coal mining, feces in the street, like it was disgusting. It was like labor was incredibly dangerous. Like, and like it's wild because now you would see like those little kids working in a factory, and like now like NBC would be like, this little girl is working hard to help her mom. What a great story. And you're like, their children shouldn't be in the factory.
No, 100%. No, and it's true. It's wild like how far we've gone and how people don't know how fast we can backslide.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, they're already passing in Oklahoma. They're saying that kids can do child labor again.
Yeah, in Arkansas. But yeah, there's so many things like that where like this backslide could easily happen. In fact, there are kids currently in meat packing plants.
Yeah.
They're being caught repeatedly by the Department of Labor. These are happening. They're using, especially the children of migrants. Are being used and tricked into it. We're talking about kids under the age of 12 who are currently cutting up your meat that is then mass produced and put into grocery stores.
Super dangerous job. Lose a lot of fingers.
Super dangerous job. It is incredibly dangerous. Also, there are health implications for the end consumer on the opposite side of that. Do you want an 11-year-old being the one to package your chicken thighs? I don't know if that is a world we want to live in. And the thing is a lot of us, we get a disconnect now when it comes to our food, when it comes to our products, when it comes to how their delivery is even made.
Yeah.
And that's why we're stuck in this world right now where we've been talking a lot here about labor and trying to get to the 8-hour work week. And I'm sure soon enough in this story, they will get to it. We're just over an hour.
I know.
But we have to keep in mind at the same exact time this is happening when these people were very, very aware of the changing technological world that was around them. We're talking about a time where telegraphs were just invented. The railroad was just being connected across the United States. Planes hadn't really taken off.
Electric is just being put in houses.
Electricity is just being started.
Electricity is their AI. They're like, the fuck is this?
Radio is now letting information travel across America. Television isn't there yet. Movies are just beginning to be shown as silent films. All of these things. Fast forward 120 years, and here we are right now where I was talking yesterday to people who work on production in New York because I went up to film something, and I was like, oh, well, this is like really cool. Like, how long have you been doing this? They're like, oh, 3 years, but I guess I'm only doing it for another one because they just rolled out a new program that does my job.
Yeah.
They're like, all these different things are coming forward, and that is an even older labor movement known as the Luddites who smashed the looms and all this stuff. And they were being shown as Luddites now is used as a slur against people who don't like technology. When the Luddites weren't against technology, they actually were just like, hey, the production, now one person can make 10 times the amount of shit, but we're only being paid a quarter of what we were before.
Yep.
And the same exact thing is happening to these laborers here who are like, hey, we don't need to work 18-hour days. We don't need to work fucking 60 hours a week. We want to work 40 hours a week and be able to sleep in a bed.
Yeah. If I could, a bed would be nice.
And
I would like to see my family.
And people died for that.
Yep.
A lot of people.
The United Mine Workers won an 8-hour workday in 1898. So the mine workers did. By 1905, the 8-hour workday was widespread in all trades. But the majority of Americans that weren't working in trade jobs were still doing 12 to 14-hour days.
Could you explain the difference between a trade and a regular job real fast?
So it'd be the difference of like really easy would be like, okay, a carpenter.
Okay.
Someone who's working in carpentry, that's a trade, a learned trade. Whereas maybe someone who is like a typewriter, a woman who's typing stuff for like whatever, she wouldn't be considered a trade.
Okay, because
right?
it's a more skilled worker who maybe has to learn a very specific type of skill.
Yeah.
Almost like a specialist.
A specialist, exactly.
Okay.
And then, but the thing is, the loopholes employers would change terminology.
Yeah.
So that they'd be like, oh, well, that's unskilled labor. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I'm running a machine, or running a loom, like you're saying. Yeah. And like, if I do anything wrong, I'm going to lose my hand. Yeah. But somehow that's unskilled. Yeah. And that woman or child or man is whatever, like wasn't being compensated because they're like, oh, it's not a trade work.
Because again, it's very similar to today, where like when I worked at the bank, right? At one point we sat down and we created a manual, like a teaching manual for what we did as a bank teller.
Yeah.
And I worked out at one point, I sat down, I said, okay, a bank teller does about 27 jobs.
Yeah.
That if this was back in the day and we didn't have the automation, these would be 27 separate different jobs. God. But because of computers,
we've talked about this.
One person does it. And they like to call it a universal worker. Yeah. And it all depends on how much training you're given versus whether or not, if you get a certification before you show up, versus whether or not the job gives you the certification, and how that kind of works. And that's where the difference in the mind comes from the perspective of managers, HR, and most specifically at the end of the day, the actual board of directors who are the ones signing off on this paperwork for how it trickles down into your pocket so you can afford to join Pearlmania500.net and become a team lead member at $5.
Well, no, we've talked about this. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to frame it because I don't know how I would get it all on the paper. But like, I want to do an episode about the way that our culture and society has convenienced ourselves out of labor. Yeah. Like, we keep being given conveniences, in quotes, or conveniences, and then people are losing their jobs. Yeah. And like, to the point where like, I want those jobs back because it made life better. Like, I was thinking like, when you a driver on a bus, right? Yeah. There used to be a conductor and a driver. There used to be two people on that bus. Yeah. One person manning the doors, one person driving, one person saying move. Yeah. One person the back door. It's always the back doors where the conductor was. Yeah. But like, we got rid of that, and now it's one guy's job to somehow yell to the back of the bus. Yeah, one guy's in charge of the bus. And they're trying to replace that with self-driving cars. Or like, when you went to a hotel, there used to be people that carried your bag. There used to be people that filled our shopping bags when I was little.
There used to be people who ran the elevators.
Yes. We convenienced ourselves out of all these jobs because they got automated in all these different ways. And I'm like, bring back the job. Like,
but the thing is what gets me is there are some of these jobs where you look at it and you go, oh, well, I wouldn't want that, or these things. But I'm like, I know, like, I used to get so mad at my job because my bosses were like, you're so smart, you should want more than what you're doing. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think you understand of how checked out I am. Yeah. And how I really, really wanted a job where I could go and sit there and the work would come in and the work would go out. Yeah. And every day I just wanted to be done at 5. Exactly. That was it. I was like, I wanted to come in. And again, it should have been 9 to 5, but somehow it crept and now it was 8 to 5. And I was like, I don't know how that fucking worked, but slowly but surely. But I was fine with it as long as it just, the work came in and the work went out. The work came in and the work went out. What I got pissed about was when they started adding more tasks that are like, hey, because you have Excel, because you figured out how to automate so like I automated a bunch of stuff and didn't tell anyone. Yeah. Because I learned over years to not tell them I can do the job better.
Be mediocre at your jobs, y'all. Yeah. I've been saying this to you for years.
You screened it for me for 20 years.
Be mediocre. Don't raise the bar. Don't show them how good you are at stuff, because then that's the bar and they're not going to pay you. Anyway, let's finish this episode.
Yeah, let's finish.
Because I feel like we've been really preachy, and I'm sorry. This is a comedy episode, a comedy podcast.
It's not.
So we've been really preachy. In 1912, the presidential election for Teddy Roosevelt, his campaign platform included the 8-hour workday. He ran his political campaign on the 8-hour workday. The 8-hour workday was realized for most working people in 1937, when it became the Fair Labor Standard Act, 29 U.S. Code Chapter 8. It was first proposed under the New Deal. As enacted, the act applied to industries who combined employment. I typoed myself to hell in this. In these industries, it was set a maximum work week at 40 hours, but provided that employees working beyond 40 hours a week would receive additional overtime and bonus salaries. Guys, if we're going to preach, let's preach. Project 2025 is trying to get rid of overtime.
Yeah. I did the math. It was 73 years.
73 years.
From 1864 to 1937, it's 73 years. That's a grandma.
Yeah.
There was from a grandma's birth all the way until they had finally created retirement. 1937, and a lot had to happen.
A lot of people died.
And just so you know, we've actually covered at least 3 recession/depressions that happened between those times, and panics and all these other different things, and talking about the economy going sideways.
Yeah,
all of this different shit. I mean, the thing is like, I remember when $15 minimum wage the idea first was being said.
Yeah.
And it was before 2016. I want to say I first heard about it in like 2012.
I remember the friend that I lost in that argument.
What do you mean?
I was talking to a friend about it.
Yeah.
And she was like, she worked as an EMT.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, well, if they're getting $15 to flip burgers, but I'm getting paid $15 because she was getting paid $15 to be an EMT.
Yeah.
And she was like going on, and I was like, you should ask for more money. If McDonald's workers start making $15 an hour, then you go to your boss and say, hey, I could go work at fucking McDonald's for this money, and I'm saving lives and giving out Narcan like candy out here. Yeah. Please raise my salary or I'm quitting to go to McDonald's. Yeah. But so this long argument, and then she didn't, it was in that, it came out around the time when people started getting pipelined to Trump. Yeah. And family and friendships all started to degrade under the anger and fear that he started instilling in people. Yeah. And so I very much remember when $15 came to the head, and I had that conversation, and then we didn't speak anymore.
It was a combination of, but not only just Trump though, but also the other pipelines that were happening across YouTube, social media, all these different places. But real fast, the $15 an hour thing, we're actually now behind. Because I don't know if you guys know this, Bank of America, they have a minimum wage that they pay their tellers. So with the lowest level you can be paid working at Bank of America. Yeah. And next year it'll be $25 an hour. They won't pay their tellers, talking about the bank tellers, less than $25 an hour. Now, I will always argue, to me, even though it's never considered it, I believe that customer service is skilled labor. Yeah. Because you have to. I know.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I know. But
the skill to not hit people.
But I want you guys to know that if you're out here, if you can pee in a cup and you can hold a conversation, I'm not telling you to work at Bank of America, but I am telling you that you can go to your boss right now and say, hey, just so you know, I applied to Bank of America because they're paying $25 an hour. You could just maybe flex that. Be like, oh, no, hey, you might get a call from Bank of America. I heard they're paying $25 an hour. Use these fuckers against each other. Yeah. Please. I'm starting to get preachy. And
we've been preachy accidentally the whole time.
No, I know, but now I just
wanted to yell about 8-hour workday and how important it is that people are trying to pull back on labor laws and our labor rights, and it's so incredibly important. And honestly, I wish I could go to college just so I could learn all about union labor. I know someone who went to college for it. Yeah. She was a labor organizer, and she had all this knowledge just in her head all the time. She was the coolest. And then I think she moved to what's that?
Here's the thing. It gets to you after a while, though.
That's what it is.
It gets to you.
She had it was like 10 years into the union stuff, and she just had a breakdown, and she like moved out of country to take a break. I think she moved to Thailand to be on a beach for 2 years.
You have to. You have to take a break because they are fucking us at all times.
And then she had to deal with all the people being like, I don't want to pay union fees. And she'd be like, I'm going to punch you in the throat.
Yeah, I know. But that's the thing. It's like you end up in a situation, you can learn too much. Yeah. And it can hurt your brain.
And that's why you listen to comedy podcasts.
Yeah, like, which are definitely this fun.
Sorry.
But we want to thank all of our new. Do you have anything else before I go into the Patreon?
I appreciate everybody listening to me go down a rabbit hole about the 8-hour workday that took a lot of weird pivots. Just because I got excited, and then I got really angry, and I got really upset. And then I just was, it was a whole thing. And this all started because I was interested in the way that the Gilded Age is reflected in what we're going through right now. Because again, there's opulent wealth.
Yeah.
There is opulent wealth happening now. It's all over the internet. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
But behind opulent wealth is labor. And so I
what also is crazy about a lot of that opulent wealth that you're talking about is how much of it is also fake.
Oh, yeah.
Like even down to like people, if there's a guy named Brad Ponroy, he used to go by Scumbag Dad. I don't often recommend people to follow on social media. However, he goes out of his way to point out how much of that content is fake by showing you how he made it. One of which is like how to rent a private jet set. How to rent the fake planes. So when people shoot the rage stuff.
That's so funny.
He spent years doing a lot of fake kindness content where it's like, hey, should I give this person $2 or should I double it and give it to somebody else?
I fucking hate that shit.
However, that being said, his old name was Scumbag Dad. So it's not content for everybody. Because every now and then when I met him in LA, he was like, yeah, I work with a lot of OnlyFans models because like they don't get a lot of respect. I'm like, that's cool. And then I look at the content. I'm like, I don't know if I can watch this on the bus. But he is, I think it's Brad Ponroy is his name, but he's good.
You ready to do some shout outs?
We have like 47 of them to do.
Shut the fuck up.
We've been recording a lot for the can, so it's time.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, when we come back, we were going to say thank you to all of our new listeners and all of everyone who's been joining up, and then how you guys also can unionize against us for more as team leaders. We'll be right back after these messages.
Pearlmania, 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 Pearlmania.
500.net if you want to join our Patreon, which is always a good time. And y'all, listen here. That's the sound of not one, but 2 pages.
He printed them out, y'all.
I printed them out.
He's full of power with the printer, but also mad at it.
I enjoy a printer. I like to read from them. I wrote all the notes on the back of them.
Oh, so
I used that as it was my note scratch paper.
So you could do math.
So I could do the math.
You gotta have scratch paper for math.
So we have a lot of people we want to thank this week.
Let's go.
Let's go ahead and start from the very beginning. We're going to start off with Lucia Clayton.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Gingerous Kitten.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Jocelyn's _caffeine_addiction.
Hell yeah, let's go. Hey, hon.
After that, we have this next one that is very good. And I've gotten this message from quite a few people, and quite a few people have told it to me in person at meet and greets at my shows.
Okay.
Mrs. P inspired me to get my library card.
Hey, hon. You know what? I get messages too. On my Instagram and in our email all the time about people signing up for the library card and like really engaging in their community through the library. They're like, I didn't even know my library had this thing. And it is literally the greatest thing that I've probably ever achieved in my life is like the fact that so many people have gotten library cards because of our podcast.
And a few people have said that they've gone and joined their library boards or they regularly go to their meetings and they discovered they're like, oh, a bunch of psychos keep showing up to these things and trying to influence the library.
Yeah.
And now they've discovered that, hey, because again, guys, we're our own cavalry, all right?
Yeah.
But no one else is going to show up to save us. Occasionally, we have to go to meetings. It sucks.
Ugh.
We gotta go to board meetings and committee meetings and all this other shit. But especially if you enjoy a thing like your local library, if you enjoy anything like that, you should at least try to check into a couple a year. I'm not saying you have to go to every single one.
September 22nd to 28th, which is this week we're recording, is Banned Books Week.
Oh, there you go.
So important to join your library so that you can make sure they're not banning books.
We got a lot more people to go through.
Let's
Up
go.
next, we have CK.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have It Ends With Us. Costume department is my sleep paralysis demon.
Hey, that's so funny.
That's
and
so
you're not
funny.
gonna get it.
That's the Blake Lively thing, right?
That's the Blake Lively movie.
Yeah, It Ends With Us. Costume department
Their
is
outfits were bad.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah, Blake Lively picked them out herself. She fired the costume people, I believe. So
oh,
that
really?
She could,
and so she brought in the new one? Oh, my God.
So that because she felt like she was like, she's an eccentric character. So like all the outfits are really like mismatchy, ugly, manic pixie dream girl with too much money.
This next person I want to thank because they did send along like a pronunciation.
Oh, perfect.
But not doing it like the way you do in like a dictionary or something like that. They're like, no, it's this part of it is pronounced like this.
Okay.
So Holly Haslage.
Hey, Holly Haslage.
Thank you. Because like,
Hey,
how would you pronounce that name, right? You would have said Haslage.
Oh, I would have got
or
that
something
so
else.
wrong.
I know.
Never ask me.
No, never asking you. Next up, we have Real Life Muppet.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Jules.
Hey, hon.
After that, now this person, I think they meant to change their name. They sent it in via DM. But so I told them, I'm going to say your name this way.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's what you were trying to say.
Heard.
But I also hadn't gotten to the messages in a while, so I wouldn't want to wait to get a response. Let's hear it for potatoes _ Idaho _ special.
Wow.
They just have a lot of them.
Shots fired.
They just have a lot of them.
That's true. Idaho potatoes are just
They're fine.
potatoes.
They're just potatoes.
Yeah.
After that, we have salve.
Hey, hon.
Or maybe Sauve, like Sauvignon Blanc. After that, we have, I changed my Patreon name just to reach character count. Yay!
Yay! Hey, hon.
Yeah, a lot of you guys really enjoy that character count on Patreon, and I see it. After that, we have Deanna Leonard.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Fairy Godmother.
Hey, hon.
And that fairy is spelled Ferry.
Oh, sexy.
Like a fairy, like the boat.
Oh, I thought it was like Faye, like the
No,
way
it's
they do that sexy book you
Ferry.
read.
No, it's the opposite. It's a ferry, like that with maybe cars on it to go to Staten. It's the most unsexy thing possible.
No, it's the ferry that you go to the island where Patricia, the book we read.
Oh, they took a ferry too.
They took a ferry.
Okay. After that, we have came for book club, booked a room at the Hacienda.
Bro, let's fucking go. Do you want to be an opener on a stand-up comedy show?
Shut up! Don't be saying that out there. Don't be blowing up the mic saying things like that. After that, we have Molly Purcell.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have I _only _listen _for _early _2000s _Philly _lore.
Oh, let's go. Let's get on the 66 bus.
Yeah.
Let's head on down to the Mayfair Diner, okay? Let's fucking go. Bill Clinton visited there.
I only want to go to the Melrose Diner, and I miss it every day. After that, we have Melissa Whitworth Mays.
Hey, hon.
Maths? Well, you can't claim I doxed you because I did not pronounce any of that right. But let's hear from Melissa Whitworth Mays.
Hey, hon.
Let's go. After that, we have Danielle.
Uh-huh.
After that, we have...
Hey, hon. I thought you were pausing.
No,
Got
just
it. Hey,
Danielle. It's just, that's all it says. After that, we have Snugglebeast 321.
Hey, Snugglebeast 321. Hey, hon.
I like that. After that, we have Amy S.
Hey, Amy.
After that, we have Zena Savin.
Hey, Zena.
After that, we have Toby with a smiley face.
Hi, Toby. Hey, hon.
After that, we have Marie Van Helsing.
Oh, hey, Marie. What's going on? Hey.
After that, we have Lisa Pagliacci.
Hey, Lisa.
Not Pagliacci.
I got you.
Pagliacci.
I got it.
After that, we have... Okay. Of all the names to pronounce, I demand a pronunciation every time this name shows up.
Got it.
It's either Andrea, Andrea,
or
Andrea.
Got it.
I don't know which one. After that, we have... I was discussing that earlier.
Yeah.
I had a coworker where it was one of those ones where she would always correct people, and then it got in my head so much I couldn't ever remember if she was Andrea, because again, the hoagie mouth, Andrea. And she'd be like, no, it's Andrea.
Just say Ange.
And then it was, yeah. After that, we have Kestrel _Bestrel.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have B _2 _ T, B to the T.
Love that.
And
Hey,
that's
hon.
T is spelled like the drink.
Ooh.
I like that a lot. After that, we have a resident of Vermont and no other state.
You're definitely not going to get these good tax write-offs.
No.
Eddie Green was telling us about.
That was a good, I love a good reference to an episode. After that, we have Cole Patrick Van Blaricum.
Yo, what? Hey, hon.
Cole Patrick Van Blaricum. After that, we have Brian Castro.
Hey, hon.
We're getting near the end here. After that, we have Garden Variety.
Hey, hon.
After that, I was talking to his name was Dust the other day,
Yeah.
and I was like, I love my fans. He's like, your fans are so much funnier than you.
Yeah.
I was like, thanks,
That's
buddy.
true.
After that, we have Leap _year _ frog.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Quark taught me everything I needed to know. Please do a hashtag Pearlmania _deep _dive _on _DS9 ! Signed your secret Fed Earl agent.
Yo, you know what? Bet. Quark is the GOAT.
Quark is the GOAT. I would say I'm hesitant and probably won't do a Deep Space Nine deep dive episode for one reason.
What's that reason?
I want people just to watch Deep Space Nine.
That's true.
And also, we have already done a Deep Space Nine deep dive in our lives. Because one day I got hammered, and before you know it, we watched all 187 episodes together. So while I do go back and watch Deep Space Nine quite regularly, I with the baby, I can't go back in.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Not right now, guys.
Now, that being said, this next one, I would like to give a shout out to this person.
Oh, we're shouting out.
Pre-shouting out.
Okay.
This is the absolute longest underscore name.
Holy shit! I just looked at the paper.
It's wall to wall. Is underscore this underscore where underscore the underscore shout underscore out underscore name underscore goes underscore had underscore to underscore pay underscore because underscore I underscore binge underscore all underscore your underscore content underscore love underscore show underscore come underscore to underscore Los Angeles underscore SoCal underscore I underscore will underscore bring underscore you underscore good underscore S. That's where it cuts off. They run out of space. They ran out of space.
Oh my God. What a cliffhanger.
It just said S. I don't know if that means sushi.
Oh, it could be so much. It could be like, I'm going to bring you so many tacos.
It could be anything.
It's Los Angeles.
There's so many things there. I have nothing. I don't know. It just says S.
That's so funny. I love a cliffhanger. Hey, hon.
After that, we have Jenna.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have I. I love having a super long one. And Jenna. After that, we have I underscore R underscore A underscore D underscore V underscore M.
What?
Eradvam?
Eradvam?
I don't know.
I like it. Hey, hon. It's all capitals, too.
It's
so
all
yelling
caps,
at you.
too, yeah. IRADVM. After that, we have please underscore don't underscore dox underscore me underscore thanks underscore in underscore advance.
Hey, hon.
Please don't dox me. Thanks in advance. Sure. I had a joke actually where I read that one and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to dox you, and then had like a whole fake name and address. I was like, you know what?
No.
It doesn't.
Your wife wouldn't like that.
You would be really mad at me. After that, we have Ash.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Catholic school trauma queen.
What? Yo, facts. Big facts. You ever have your hands duct taped to your desk?
Yep.
I did.
After that, I think this next person was at the show because there was a couple people. I'm always blown away by how far away people come to the show.
Yeah.
I've had people come from Canada.
Yeah.
There was a group of people came up, a couple of people who were like, yeah, we drove 6 hours, but we wanted to say hi. And I think this was one of them because I remember I turned to one of them, I was like, checker pants. Ska for life. And their name, checkered underscore pants underscore ska underscore for underscore life underscore bruh.
Hey, hon.
So let's hear it. After that, we have Maria Tiedemann.
Hey, hon.
After that, we have Ashley.
Hey.
After that, we have Wild.
Uh-huh.
And here we are at the end.
Okay.
Triple OG Gabby Gab.
Exactly. Triple OG Gabby Gab.
It's crazy. I do not edit how the names come in, the order they come in. And so always landing on a fucking goat is so good every single time. So that's been today's episode. That has been
a banger.
Listen.
When it comes to making an episode of a podcast, this is the podcast for podcasting.
It is the podcast. It is the place. It's
Nobody's
the place to be.
making better content.
I would say nobody is striving as hard.
Nobody's trying as hard because they probably started 5 years ago when they're already.
Some of them started 16 years ago. Some of them never deleted their podcast from 2008 because of technical difficulties. But with all that being said, thank you to all the Patreons. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you to everybody.
Just thank you to everybody.
Thanks. You know what? A crazy summer. It's fall now, so I can say that. What a crazy summer we had.
Yeah.
You running all around, doing all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, and now what do we have before us? We have autumnal activities.
Oh, I'm so excited. Wait, we have to come up with a word.
I just did.
Autumnal
activities. So please get down in the comments and say that you tell us what is your favorite autumnal activity.
Too many frauds and too many scammers that we wish weren't real. Too many cons and too many spammers, and we're starting to feel like we've got too many tabs open. It's too many tabs. Remember to smile.
You look like you wanted to say a favorite autumnal activity. Did you have one you wanted to say?
Yeah, it's okay.
Do you want to save it for next episode?
Maybe.